Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. Now today I have got for you a Game Week 18 free hit video. I'm going to show you a really nice free hit template that you can use. I've kind of devised this myself and I am on free hit myself this week. This is not my free hit, this is rather a template that you can use, you can kind of adapt for yourself. It's fairly cheap. It's fairly risk-free and I'm going to explain it to you guys, and you can kind of use this as a starting point and try and create something really nice from it using your specific budget, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. So I know this video is going to attract a little bit of interest from those of you who are not subscribed, so if you are new around here, please do consider subscribing. I'm so close to 50,000 subscribers, so we'd really appreciate that. And of course, if you'd like the video, please give it a big thumbs up as well. Always helpful indeed, isn't it? But without further ado, let's have a look at how we're setting up. So as you can see here, I've done this with a budget of 100 million.9. I think this is probably a reasonable budget. I imagine most of you guys will have a squad value of around this or slightly more maybe. Perhaps you are a little bit short on that, but there are some corners we can cut here. But I think this is a good starting point as a kind of budget for, you know, regularly immersed players for FPL. So let's start off in goal with Darlow. Now, Darlow's a kind of an interesting one because he might be rotated with Dubravka. We don't know for sure, but assuming that Darlow plays, I do think he could be the best keeper option for Game Week 18. So Sheffield United, we know they've been the worst attack all season, and even recently they've been joint worst with West Brom, who have been pretty tragic as well. So they're not scoring goals at all. So when we're talking about clean sheets, we really want to be playing our players against West Brom's and of course Sheffield United, which is exactly what we've got here. But what's more interesting is that Darlow is the third highest saver of the whole Premier League right now. So only two players have had more saves than Darlow. So he is going to mop up those save points as well. So little bonus extra there. Now Newcastle are not a high scoring side either. So if they win 1-0, if they draw 0-0, the bonus points are often going to go to the goalkeepers and the defenders. Now if a goalkeeper's making saves as well, that means bonus points and save points for your goalkeeper as well. So overall, we're starting to tot up a nice amount of points here, which is why I really like the look of Darlow in goal. Then we're going to move on to Cancelo. I basically just think this guy, and you guys will know if you've watched my videos before, I love Cancelo. I think he is such an amazing player. I think he is a FPL gem just waiting to happen. He's sort of creating so many chances. It almost seems like there's a conspiracy against Cancelo. For some reason, his teammates are not finishing off the chances that he creates. But it's going to happen eventually. You know it's going to happen eventually. If he keeps creating as many chances as he does, someone's going to finish him off, and we're just waiting for Cancelo to get like a 15-20 pointer haul. It's definitely going to happen at some point in this season, isn't it? And why not against Brighton and Hove Albion? So Manchester City are the best defence in the league right now by a long shot. Don't even question that. It is a fact. Man City are the best defence right now. So really a team we want to be invested in long term for the defences. But in this particular game week, home against Brighton, you'd say that's a pretty good fixture. The only team that Manchester City have conceded to in weeks and weeks are Chelsea. So a team like Brighton, who do offer some attacking threat, but not a huge amount of attacking threat, you do tend to think that Man City can keep a clean sheet there. And of course, Cancelo with the attacking threat that he does have there, going to be really nice for some potential assists. And, you know, he takes the odd shot as well, so maybe even a goal. Let's have a look. Let's see. So moving on to our next defender, and it is Harry Maguire. Might surprise a few of you that I've gone for Harry Maguire here, but we've got Burnley away here. So that's a really nice fixture for a defender. Burnley not exactly a high-scoring team. And I know Manchester United aren't typically a good defence this season, but I do think it is potentially worth going in on the defence for a one-game week punt now. After that, it's a case of which Manchester United defender / goalkeeper do you go for? And I think Maguire is the most nailed on of all of the defenders. So you could take a risk and go for someone like Eric Bailly, perhaps. Maybe Wan-Bissaka, but, you know, I'm not so keen on Wan-Bissaka for his attacking output. And this is something I like about Maguire. So Maguire offers a really nice set-piece goal threat there. So he's got the most shots out of any Manchester United defender. So he is going to be taking shots, which is something that we really like to see from those set pieces. You never know, you could get a goal. And then obviously against Burnley, you've got really nice clean sheet potential as well there. So I do quite like the look of Maguire as probably the best defensive option at Manchester United. You know, if you're going for a Luke Shaw or a Tellez, then you are going to take a slight risk there, perhaps rotation, and we're already taking a bit of a risk with our free hit. The free hit is the differential, so after you've played your free hit, your whole team, you can afford to pick safe players, you really can, so that's why I've gone for Maguire here. And then finally in defence, I've got Kieran Tierney. I'm really happy to be putting him in, to be fair, because I've been hoping that Tierney would become a good FPL asset for a long time, and we saw last game week, top scorer of the entire game week. What a game week he had, assist, goal, clean sheet. A really good game, and he's playing super well as well, so he's making the most key passes for Arsenal, and this is something we like against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, actually the one of the worst defences in the league right now. They're conceding loads and loads of goals, so there is going to be opportunities for Tierney to create chances, and someone at Arsenal will get on the end of them and finish them off, which has been happening recently. And then you never know, the odd goal from Tierney as well, but I wouldn't expect that too often if I'm perfectly honest with you guys. But still, looking really good from an attacking perspective. From the defensive perspective, and I know we typically like to think of Arsenal as a bad defence, but the statistics this year tell a very different story. So, Arsenal, the third best defence in the league on recent form. That's really nice. Crystal Palace, incidentally, the third worst attack on recent form. So, that's a really nice matchup there, Tierney against Crystal Palace. You do think a clean sheet is very likely there, to be fair. And, of course, the creativity that Tierney offers is really real as well. So, do think about that as well. I do think he's one of the players in this team which I think you kind of have to go for. If you're on a free hit, I would not do a free hit without Tierney. I think he's one of the must-have players, if you like. So really do consider putting him into your free hit team. So let's move on to midfield. We've got a 5-man midfield in this team. We're going to start off with KDB. I think that's a pretty obvious one based on last game week. I know he played really well against Chelsea. Game weeks before, not finishing off his chances, but he was getting the chances. So people kind of got mixed feelings on him, but you know, I know if I don't put KDB in this team, I'm going to get slaughtered because, you know, our memories are very short in FPL, and we're only really recognising last game week, aren't we, realistically? We're looking at stats long term, which look good for KDB, and we're looking at last game week when he finished off his chances for the first time in quite a few weeks, to be fair. So he is still a really nice player to have. I do like him. I don't know if he's as essential as perhaps some people are making him out to be. So if you are going without KDB for this game week, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And that's mostly because KDB has not been consistent in his finishing over the past 5-6 game weeks, but also because Brighton have typically been quite a difficult defence to play against. They usually don't concede more than one goal. They're the perpetual 1-1 drawers. They pretty much draw every game that they play 1-1. I know they had a slip up last game week, but if you look back through their scores that they've had, even against the bigger teams, they don't concede a lot of goals. You know, you're looking at beating Brighton maybe 2-0 maximum. And that's probably what I would predict for this Man City game as well. Don't think that it's going to be an absolute smashing, an absolute rollover. You know, it could happen. It's Manchester City. If they are getting back to the form that we hope that they would in their attacking sense, as they looked really hot against Chelsea, then perhaps they do look really good and get a nice and big score. But typically, Brighton don't concede a huge amount of goals, so look a little bit long-term in that. And yeah, he's not essential, but still a really nice player to have in this game week indeed. Next up, Bruno Fernandes. I think this is kind of the most obvious player that you're probably putting in your team. Bruno Fernandes, he's just been an absolute consistent star genius for Manchester United. I mean, I don't want to call Manchester United a one-man team, but even Manchester United fans, you guys got to admit, Bruno has been amazing for you guys. He's been the key to it all, you know, creativity, taking shots, the sort of penalties as well that he obviously has. Although he's not relying so much on penalties recently, he is still getting those and getting those goals as well. So he's looking really nice, just in general, and probably the most essential player in FPL right now. So he's straight into any free hit team, I think, if he's playing in it. And Burnley away, really nice game this is. Burnley have not been the defensive masters that they were, I guess, last season, and therefore there is capability to grab a couple of goals against them. And I do think Manchester United, they're going to sort of probably score a few goals, because them and Manchester City have probably had the most chances to score, the most likely to score a lot of goals. Man City and Manchester United, in terms of the overall Premier League in any normal game week, those are the two teams that are going to likely to score the most. But Manchester United are finishing off their chances much nicer, so they're probably the best attacking team to go for right now against a fairly weak Burnley defence. That's pretty nice as well, and that's why I'm also doubling up in this team, because we've got Rashford in there as next. So two really nice attacking players. They're probably the two most desirable attacking players in that Manchester United side against a fairly weak Burnley side at the moment. And I think it just looks really good. You could obviously go for Martial. Maybe. I don't know. I think Rashford is the better player. I think Rashford is posting slightly better statistics as well. And depending on whether Cavani potentially plays in this game week as well. So that's going to kind of add rotation risk to Martial. Even Rashford could potentially play up front and pose rotation risk. But Rashford does seem fairly nailed on at left wing. There isn't really another left winger at Manchester United that can come in and easily take his place. So it's really it's a nice safe pick, part of a really good attacking Manchester United team, and probably the second best attacker in that team as well. So let's move on to El Ghazi, a bit of an interesting one here. Obviously the fixture against Spurs is not ideal, but this is kind of a pick that is form over fixtures. So El Ghazi's he's still number one in pretty much every attacking metric in terms of shooting anyway. So if you're looking at players who are shooting the most shots on target, most shots in the box over the past 5-6 game weeks, it's El Ghazi. He's top in every single stat. So he's on a hot form. He is taking so many shots. He really wants to score goals. He is scoring goals. I know he had a blank last game week, but you got to look a little bit more long term than just one game week. You know, you got to look a bit further than that. And it was a difficult game, to be fair, for Aston Villa. But yeah, El Ghazi in magnificent form. So if you want to go for form over fixture, then absolutely go for it. He is a really nice price, 5.8 million. That's nothing. That is such a cheap player. And having cheap players like El Ghazi in your team sort of enables you to have more of the big players. You know, in this team, we've already got KDB, Fernandes and Rashford, and a decent back line there as well. And we'll see how we get on with attackers as well. But the way this is facilitated is by picking out some really lucrative looking cheaper players, and El Ghazi is exactly that. Although the fixture isn't great, I think Spurs are probably not as good defensively as you might think they are. And the game is at home as well, so it could be a really nice pick, and I'm definitely backing him for game week 18. And then finally in midfield, I've gone for Bukayo Saka, 5.3 million. So this is another player, super cheap enabler, but a really nice player indeed. He is taking an insane amount of shots. He is shooting so much. Obviously not quite El Ghazi level, but sort of more than Harry Kane, for example. Saka's taken more shots than him. He's taken more shots than anyone else in that Arsenal side. So if we're looking at attacking players to go for against Crystal Palace, because we know Crystal Palace have got a weak defence, we know Arsenal are looking like a slight upturn in form here. We want to pick out the best attacking players who for a reasonable price, remember, because we've got to manage our budget a little bit. And when we're talking sort of Aubameyang, Lacazette maybe, they're kind of a little bit more expensive, and if we have those players, it means we might have to sacrifice a KDB, a Fernandes, a Rashford, whoever you want to go for, Sterling maybe. You might have to sacrifice one of them if you're going for Aubameyang or Lacazette, but Saka is providing an insane amount of value because he's shooting so much, and also, although technically Tierney is creating more chances, Saka is creating the better quality chances. You can see when you watch him on the pitch, he's shooting loads, he's creating lots of good chances for Arsenal, and a lot of stuff attacking wise is going through him. So really one of the best players, if not the best player to have from that Arsenal side in terms of their attack. He's going to be Bukayo Saka despite his price. You've got to look past his price and look purely at what he is performing on the pitch. He's not a left wing back anymore. He's a right winger. Full on up the pitch, shooting, crossing, everything you like. And he's absolutely making a mockery of his 5.3 million price tag. Let me tell you that. So get him straight in your team. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then let's go up front now to Harry Kane. Harry Kane is just kind of a real safe pick, really, isn't he? He's sort of performing pretty consistently throughout this season. You'd probably say he's been the best, well, at least one of the best players in the Premier League this season. He's doing really well. And he's still grabbing goals, getting assists, combining with Son really well. I'm imagining a lot of you guys probably want to have at least one of Kane and Son. I really don't think you need both of them because this Aston Villa game away, it's not an easy game, and I don't expect Spurs to go out there and score a load of goals. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think there is there's a slight risk with not having either, because so many people, particularly people who aren't free hitting, are going to have both Harry Kane and Son in their team, and you kind of got to cover those points a little bit perhaps. So it might be quite nice to have Kane in there. He's just a reliable player that you can just stick in your team, and no issues there at all. And then finally, we've gone for Wilson up front. Now, in terms of attacking players at Newcastle, there's only one, as far as I'm concerned, that's worth even looking at. I know we look at Sheffield United, we think it's bottom of the table. Can we get any attacking players? Should we really be attacking this fixture? My answer is kinda yes and no. I wouldn't be going full blown into this fixture, but Wilson, he is by far, you know, Newcastle's best FPL asset by a long shot. He's proven that all season. He's sort of a really good poacher. He's, you know, he's strong. He wants to get into the box. Takes penalties as well. So he's got kind of loads of different bits about him. So do expect him to have some chances to score against Sheffield United. I think if anyone is scoring in that game, I think the most likely player to score of either teams in that game is going to be Callum Wilson. So you play your odds and you stick him in your FPL team. Now, we're going to go to the bench quickly, and you're going to see this is a fairly strong bench, which might kind of surprise you, but hopefully I can explain to you what I'm kind of thinking here and how this is really, really beneficial. So on the bench, we start off with Leno against Crystal Palace. Obviously, if Darlow doesn't play, Dubravka comes in instead, then we have got Leno there for cover, and you know, Leno's got a very good chance of keeping a clean sheet there as well. We've got Holgate against Wolves. Wolves not exactly known as being the best attacking player, and Holgate really good value, nice cheap, pretty nailed on Everton defender there. We've got Kieran Clark, who actually grew up just down the road from me, which is crazy. Obviously against Sheffield United, away, a good chance of a clean sheet against the worst attack in the league. And then finally Brewster, super cheap option. Probably not going to get you more than 1 or 2 points, to be honest, but he's so cheap that you can just stick him on your bench, and you know that if everything goes terribly wrong, at least you're going to get your 1 point from Ryan Brewster. So there you go. But anyway, I was going to explain to you the reason why the bench is quite strong, because a few of you are probably watching this video thinking, why we're on free hit, why are you wasting so much money on your bench? Well, you might have noticed, aside from the bench players, aside from 2 of the bench players, that out of all of the players, there's only a maximum of 3 players from each team. I know this is going to look strange to some of you guys, because I know some of you guys will say 3 like this. I know there's international stuff like that, but in UK we go like this. But yeah, there is only 3 players from each game, which means if one game gets cancelled, and bear in mind, guys, that it's pretty much at least one game is getting cancelled, postponed per game week right now due to COVID, and there's still COVID cases in the Premier League, then we need to have that covered. So what we've got a situation here is that if one game gets cancelled, because we've only got a maximum of 3 players per game, then we're going to have the 3 players ready to come on off the bench. Now, you might say there's only, I don't know, a 40%, 50% chance of a game getting cancelled, but that's pretty high. And doing it this way, most people are just going to play their free hit, have no money on their bench whatsoever, and if it turns out that one game gets cancelled, they're going to be absolutely screwed. Maybe they've got 4 or 5 players from the same fixture. That fixture gets cancelled, then they've got nothing on their bench. You're in big trouble there. And the best thing we can do is to kind of play the odds, give ourselves any advantages we can. And this is a really nice advantage that a lot of people are just not thinking about whatsoever. So maximum of 3 players per individual fixture, and then a bench full of players that you'd actually be fairly happy with playing. So Leno, I'd be fairly happy with him playing. Holgate, fairly happy. Clark, fairly happily. Brewster, okay, it's not ideal, but you know, he's going to get you some points at least. So a real advantage there that you can have over there. Obviously, these are the 3 players I'd least like to have in my starting 11, but they're still players that I would be okay with having in my starting 11. So going to give you a real advantage there if one fixture is cancelled, for sure. A huge advantage if you just play it safe that way. Now, really quickly, let's just do a captain. I know I'm going to do a full captains video towards the end of the week before the game week starts, obviously. But I do want to say Bruno Fernandes is my favourite right now for captaincy choice. So first armband straight on him. Now the vice captaincy, because again, we are thinking about maybe fixtures getting cancelled. Never put the vice captain on a player playing in the same game as your captain. So kind of same rules again. We're going to go for vice captain on KDB in this team. Now, I do think KDB is a slightly worse option this game week than Bruno Fernandes, because Bruno has been offering more consistency and his fixture is better as well. So that's kind of why I do think Bruno is the one to go for here. Who knows if I'm right? Maybe KDB pulls it out the bag once again. But no, Bruno Fernandes seems like the safer pick. And this team is all about keeping it fairly realistic and safe. And if you want to add a little bit of spice, maybe you want to double up on Man City defence, you want to take out Maguire, put in Diaz, something like that, then absolutely go for it. That's not a bad option at all. But I wanted to provide you with a really nice, safe team that you can start off with. And then you can start playing around with it, add into it. Maybe you've got a little bit more team value you want to add. You want to upgrade El Ghazi, for example. You want to do Son in your team instead of Kane and maybe choose a different forward. Loads of options for you to go for, but really nice starting point for you guys here. So if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. I hope you did really find it really useful. And if you're new around here, like I said, please do help me out trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of January, because that'll be 1 year on YouTube for me. If I can hit 50,000 subscribers by then, I'd be so happy. So please do consider doing that if you are new. And aside from that, thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out anything in the description, I've got my Twitter link, Instagram, Patreon, or you can join my mini league. All of that stuff is in the description, so go check that out if you fancy it. But aside from that, thank you once again, finally, for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for a buy, sell, keep, avoid video for Game Week 19. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.